Hey, welcome to week 6 of May the Internet Be With You. This week we're going to be looking at the Jedi Academy. This website was the most active Jedi website in our community from about 1999 to, you could probably even say 1998 to about 2002. 2002 is when Jedi Order basically took the reins and the Jedi Academy started its way towards closing its doors. This was created by Bal Legato, and he created kind of in the idea originated in 1997. 1998, like many places that were starting to come into fruition, Yahoo groups, the email groups, is what was used. And like the Force Academy, when you have 300 active people emailing each other back and forth on various topics of philosophy, Star Wars, and metaphysics, it can get a little crowded and hard to follow. So a better communication medium was certainly desired. And the Jedi Academy went with EasyBoard as their forum and communication medium. This would kick off the new Yahoo groups, which would become EasyBoard. EasyBoard was just a free forum creation, and they had their own servers, so you could just go on there for free and create your own basic community, your own bulletin board where you can hold discussions and things like that. And the Jedi made use of that until they closed their doors, or really they merged with Yuku. But that's where hundreds of Jedi sites were created from 1999. Well, really, it didn't really catch on until about 2000. So about 2000 to 2005 was EasyBoard, and literally hundreds of Jedi sites of any flavor, name, any weird title, any ism, any color, there was chair Jedi, there were lamp Jedi, okay, there were forest Jedi. It didn't matter. You know, look around your room right now, pick something out, CD Jedi. Pretty sure that was an EasyBoard group somewhere. And we all owe that to the Jedi Academy, which really made it known the ease of communication and the benefit of kind of moderation and, you know, having a very organized forum. Now, the Jedi Academy, as I said, was the most popular. It didn't have an academy. It didn't have any. There were no isms back then, so it wasn't Jediism. It wasn't Jedi realism. It was just a focus on philosophy as expressed through Star Wars. This was a bit different than Force Academy. The reason for this is that there wasn't really role-playing that was used there. Like it wasn't really a role-playing site. They didn't really encourage role-playing. It did take part. They ended up making a forum on EasyBoard just for role-playing, just a little forum to keep that kind of in its place. They also didn't do lightsaber discussions, like no real lightsabers. There was no real talk on lightsabers. Force powers, this was all discouraged. If you want to check that out real quick, we can go to the website, because I'm just yakking for some reason and not pointing out the website. So follow the link, get into the website, and we will go to the About Us section. And this is just a quick blurb on, you know, the Jedi Academy and what they're about. And we'll just jump down to that right under where it says Bal Legato and the Academy staff. What we are not: a role-playing game organization, sci-fi site, intent on building working lightsabers or shooting lightning from our fingers. This was the Jedi Academy. They really did have a huge focus on the idea of just exploring the concepts that were expressed through Star Wars. And what we'll do is to kind of show this is if you go back or go home, you can click on the little logo in the top corner, there, and I'll bring you back to the home page. Or you can use the link section at top, but hit the Force. We're going to look at the Force. On this page, you can see the go-to explanation of the Force, the Obi-Wan quote at the top there. But then this is something that was unique to Jedi Academy 2, is that you'll see this little section where they quote the founder of Aikido, and they dub him a Jedi Master. Jedi Academy was very famous for doing that. So you would have things like, and Jedi Master Bruce Lee says, so I'm not a fan of doing that, but that's what it was back then. It was something that I think really actually spoke to people, and that they enjoyed it, kind of got a little kick out of it. But getting back to this, this is what it was about, right? So they're looking at, one, the fictional, two, Aikido's kind of version or explanation that they felt fits with the subject, and then they have their own little discussion on it, or description, summary, if you will. And it is a mixture of both. And then in the second paragraph, you can see the Force has many names throughout history, and they kind of touch on the idea of exploring the real world concepts and the real world labels that already exist, and that other groups and individuals have explored for centuries, and allow the Force to kind of guide you into those things and look for the parallels, and then see which one speaks to you, and then run with that. It's not too different than what we do now, right? We use the Force as a terminology in which to find and explore spiritual well-being, and however that may relate to individuals. Everybody kind of has a different answer in that. And for the Jedi community, we use these umbrella terms that allow us to kind of avoid some of the segregation of labels that have been created throughout the centuries, because we can kind of just touch on the similarities rather than focusing on what makes them different. But again, it's personal exploration, and your spiritual wellness will most likely differ from other Jedi. And this is really where we begin to see that beginning and that idea of exploring and finding the label that works for you. And this was what the Jedi Academy was about. It was about real-world exploration, and Star Wars was just the jumping point. It was for Star Wars fans to jump into deeper topics using what they would call real-world studies. Okay, and we'll go back out for a second, and before we get into the next one, let's chop it up and pause for any questions. If you're watching on YouTube or some other medium, you can use the Q&A. For that, so get to typing now, because we always go to the video first. And if you're having any technical difficulties, if you're here with us, you can type in the chat box if you need to. So questions. We're gonna start. I don't see Gabe's. All I see is this picture, so I can't really. Not sure. Gabe, if you have a question, you can go ahead and unmute yourself now. and give you a few seconds to work that out. If not, we do.
Yeah,
all
right. I have no questions. Just in a car, so that is why there is no video currently. So I'm just trying to limit the bandwidth and stuff.
Fair enough, man. Be safe. Be safe. All right, safety first. Jedi Knight. Cayenne, do you have any questions, comments, concerns?
Mostly just a comment. I thought it was really interesting that they dubbed Morihei Ueshiba a Jedi Master. Like his book, The Art of Peace, is like a common, it's like on all the Jedi to read lists. It's like a great choice for a person, but I really think it's an interesting thing of, lots of things inform the Jedi path and are parallel to the Jedi path, but are not the Jedi path. I do yoga. It's really good for me. It's great meditation. I love it. And it certainly informs my Jedi practice. You know, it makes me healthier, it makes me calmer, it makes me more aware, which are all Jedi things, but yoga is not Jedi. Like, doing yoga does not make one a Jedi. So I just, I don't know, I thought it was interesting that clearly they have the other take of sort of maybe from the motivation of like, we don't have any real life Jedi Masters. That's awkward. Let's pick some, you know?
Yeah.
But it was interesting. They do seem to think that if you don't call yourself a Jedi or pursue Jedi things, you can still be a Jedi.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely interesting to use that. My personal view has always been to respect people's individual classifications and titles and labels. We pick them for a reason. They usually speak something to us as individuals. Like someone who does follow yoga, and they really live it, and it really makes a difference in their life. They probably would not want to be lumped in the Jedi label just because it has similarities. Because there's also differences, and yeah, and if they're not a fan, if they don't get the parallel, they would be like, no, yoga's more what I do. Yoga's more my thing. So yeah, I think respecting people's own labels is more the way to do with it. But like you said, when we were starting out, what was there, right? You know, we had our Jedi Masters. They were all fictional. Where are our non-fictional Jedi Masters? Who are the people we can look to and learn from? And certainly we just did exactly what Lucas did and started trolling all the libraries and history of the world and the various cultures that exist and have existed, and started being like, oh, that fits with that, and that fits with this, and putting, you know, the puzzle pieces together, and you always want to honor that, and you always want to, you know, cite your sources and such, but there is a line that I like to you know, kind of keep them in their little labels, just for clarification, I guess, organizational purposes. But absolutely. And to hit on that point, we can go to the book list, which books, you know, the book links, to kind of to highlight that fact, right? To really show the recommended reading, the things that Jedi were looking to, especially at the Jedi Academy. Again, it wasn't about, like, at a lot of Jedi websites, you look at recommended reading, and you're going to find Star Wars books, whether the role-playing guide or whether they're the fictional books or anything of that nature. You're always going to find those kind of things. But here at Jedi Academy, you look at it, and it's all books that honestly, I think it's a really good list, in the sense that I think most Jedi have these ones. Probably my favorite out of this one, I know a lot of people probably like The Art of Peace. It's a really good one. Book of Five Rings is really popular. But my personal favorite is The Tao of Pooh. I just love that book. It's really great. It's cute. It's awesome. So that if you're a Jedi and you don't have that one, highly recommend it. It is a good one. But looking at that, we can jump over then to also Jedi lessons, and we can get an idea of the way that they encourage the Jedi of this time to grow. And while we've already looked at the recommended reading, we can jump down to the Way of the Jedi. And again, this shows using the pre-existing ideals of other paths to kind of express and encourage the ideals that Jedi wanted to follow. So here we have Jedi and looking at the idea of justice. As per usual, I'm not going to read out the entire lesson here, but you can look it over and you can read through it. But it kind of just highlights that's where Jedi Academy was focused. that was where they wanted to go. They wanted to explore these very real-world concepts that that Star Wars kind of highlighted, or even just brought out in people. You know, when they looked at the Jedi or the movies, whether they were the prequels or the original trilogy, you kind of had this idea. The hero's journey always tends to inspire, and it kind of directs people with things in themselves, right? So justice for some, some people saw justice in Luke Skywalker's journey. Other people saw compassion and love, and other people just saw a quest for the self. You know, it's all kind of personal. We kind of project what we want to see onto these characters, and Jedi Academy really just wanted to explore all those different facets, and then again in that very real-world, tangible sense where they can cite sources, point to books, point to orders that existed, and things of that nature. They were very, very hostile on the message boards if you came in with the doe-eyed, oh my God, I'm looking for a Jedi Master. I need a Jedi Master to train me in the ways. Like, they were not kind. They were not kind. Last week we talked about the Force Academy, and it's kind of come into the label of it's a Shark Tank, right? When you jump in there, you're jumping in and you're swimming with sharks, and they're not going to go easy on you. And some people find that kind of trial by fire a great way to grow. Jedi Academy was that first. Back then in 1999 and stuff, the Force Academy was just busy, and but it was very much Star Wars focused. It was very much fictional Jedi focused, and it really used that terminology and really had that kind of focus in where they were growing. So you had a lot of love and light, kind of like Jedi, trying to do that. And so it was welcoming, and it kind of encouraged that mentality of I'm looking for a Jedi Master, and I want to learn how to use Force powers and things like that. And the Jedi Academy was vicious on that, and would remind people of all the fictional things, and that's not what they're about. And it was tough. It was a quick learning lesson, but it stayed popular, and a lot of people, even when faced with that, weren't discouraged. They just kind of adapted and became more curious and wanted approval of the site even more for their very strict adherence to that for that way of thinking. So for a long time, as I said, years, it really was this place where you could explore the concepts of the human condition in that inspiration from Star Wars, right? If Star Wars brought you there, now they're going to open the door into what kind of helped create the things that inspired people about Star Wars. Show you where some of the concepts of the Jedi came from. They were very much about opening that door into real-world paths. And that worked fine for years. It really kept conversations going. And sure enough, you can always be tough on people, and you can always be like, this is what we don't do, this is where our focus is at, this is very clear, we're very upfront about this, and you're still gonna get hundreds of people not listening, because it was the most popular site, because people were coming in every day. You would have 50 new members a day. Whether they talked or not, different question, but you always had discussions going on. You could miss discussions in a heartbeat. You check in at lunch, and you're checking a post. It just got made. You're writing up your reply. You get home after school, after work, whatever. You want to check on your reply and see what happened. And that one post will have like 6 pages long of different replies that had gone on in that time. It was just active, and you'll find that your post and your points are far left behind. It has moved on long ago, and so you kind of missed the boat on the discussion. If you had a life, if you couldn't be on the computer, the majority of the time, you were going to miss out on a lot of the discussions. And it's just a matter of activity and the number of people who used it. So for years that went on, and eventually, though, all good things, it ended up splitting up into 3 different sites before eventually all 3 kind of closing their doors around the same time. But before we get into that, we will once again check in with our visitors, and we will check in with anybody who's watching on the YouTube channel or anything of that nature. So once again, we'll go through the thing. Gabe, again, Master Angel. If you have any questions, Angelus, you go ahead, ask them. Again, be safe though. Be safe.
Yeah, I think it was just that last point on making a post and then coming back to it several hours later and then realizing everyone has moved past that post. I just find it hilarious because, yeah, that is exactly what had happened. I remember that actually that's where I started, and so I did write a post, what I thought was a brilliant post, a well thought out post, putting all of my thoughts and ideas together, commenting on certain things, and just thinking it was like the end all be all almost, and then coming back to it later and realizing somebody may have picked up on one point in that argument and it just spiraled out, and it was just always amusing that it was an example of conversation on how just a simple statement can be sprung out into this whole other slew of ideas when you're talking with a whole bunch of other people. And so, like, at the time, I was always frustrated by it. But now, looking back, I'm going like, that's the beauty of learning, that you can go from one idea and it leads to something else.
Indeed, indeed. Definitely something that was fun. And yeah, as you said, at the time, a little bit aggravating, just a little bit, but certainly organic conversation, beautiful thing in itself, and just the power of popularity, really. Katie, leader of California Jedi. Any questions, comments, concerns?
You can do that every single time you introduce me.
But I don't know, probably.
No, honestly, I was thinking a similar thing of Gabe. If you're writing something, and you're like, oh wait, I need to, I'll come back to this. I'm like not saying it right, and you like let it sit for like 15 minutes, and then like, oh, this lovely thing I wrote is so no longer relevant.
Yeah. It's the fun of the conversations. Yeah, I mean, that's what happens, right? When you're talking one-on-one conversations, pretty easy to kind of expand on what you say and kind of reword. Oh, that's not real. That's not exactly what I meant. Let me reword, and okay, this is what I meant to say. I'm sorry. But when then you're talking to 200 people who are just waiting to jump in on a conversation, yeah.
Yeah. So, my other question was: is this the beginning of the sort of artificial divide of Jedi realism as like as a thing separate from other types of Jedi?
No. Jedi realism ends up coming out probably, depending on how things go, might be next week's class. I don't know yet. I like to make this stuff up as I go. So depending, but Jedi realism comes out from Relin, and it actually comes out in 2001 from the Jedi census. Of course, Jediism is the word that kind of is used by the media and then by people of the community to denote the Jedi religion. So that's what they were specifically referring to back then when they used Jediism.
Okay, so the Jedi realism was a response to Jediism, not
Yes,
not to.
it was a direct response to Jediism, and then yeah, Relin and Jedi were the ones who kind of, and Jedi Creed, I suppose, is really the ones kind of responsible for putting in that divide. Jedi Academy, though, and which would branch off, actually, they didn't want anything to do with any of that. They were, when that started happening, they were already dealing with their own kind of problems at the time, so, and their own kind of leadership issues. So, but they really didn't want any part of any ism at all. And yeah, so that was more Jedi Creed. Eventually, the Force Academy would jump on that bandwagon as well, supporting Jedi realism, as you know, because I think you were around at that time. And then, yes, it was really the whole kind of easy board group with Jedi, Temple of the Jedi, and things like that. The original Temple of the Jedi Order, the merger, not the religious site that exists now, not the Jediism site that exists now, but the original Temple of the Jedi Order also kind of propagated the divide of Jedi realism, like really focusing on that concept and running with that title. And that's where you do get, you know, that's as you know, that's where like things like the Jedi Realist Academy was born out of Relin's Jedi organization. So that's really where the divide happened. So yeah. Roz, did you have any, Roslyn of California Jedi, did you have any questions or concerns on that, on where we're at currently?
Hello?
Okay, I did. All right, Roz, I'm gonna put you on mute, and then we'll come back to you. See if that works it out. In the meantime, we're gonna jump over to a Q&A question that we got. To add to earlier comment about yoga, same thing applies to meditation. There are many different ways than the atypical form that you might see, especially from the movies, and only one way that will work for you versus Jedi proper. Yeah, that's something we definitely focus on as a community. I know Chicago Jedi is very much that way. I know California Jedi is very much that way. Meditation is a daily habit for a Jedi. It's important. It's something that we all do, and it's a core practice of our path. However, how you meditate is a very individual thing, and is something that will take some time to kind of explore the different areas of meditation, kind of explore what works best for you and what doesn't. Funny enough, I was working on an article earlier today, and meditation's a part of it, and in it I was like, you know, meditation, you have to do it daily, and even if that means jumping onto YouTube and typing in guided meditation and then doing a different video every day, kind of just exploring what's out there, do it, you know, get the practice in. It's not a bad way to go. So, but definitely find what works for you, and it's definitely going to be different per person. But yeah, good point. Thank you for bringing it up, sir. I appreciate it. All right. So there's not much to look at in our next topic on Jedi. I suppose we can go to a faculty page if you want to kind of see the different people who go different ways. We're going to touch on, let's see, okay, there's only really 2 of them that we're really going to touch on. But you can go to a faculty page to, you know, kind of follow along if you like. And what happened with Jedi Academy is it really just got too big, and leadership got burnt out, and that happens, and then you look to pass the torch. When you get burnt out and you look to pass it on, obviously you kind of want to pass it on to someone who is similar in thought as yourself, meaning they have the same vision for the place. They want to take it in the same direction. Unfortunately for Jedi Academy, you had a lot of people vying for powership when Legato he wasn't around as much, he was burnt out, he wasn't really an active part anymore, and he kind of defaulted to Hellflower Ryu, and just kind of allowed leadership to kind of take its course naturally, except at the time Hellflower was busy with university and stuff, so couldn't be there as much as such a big group required. The administration duties alone was taking up hours, and a lot of them were no longer able to really get involved in the actual discussions happening on the board, as they were getting pulled into chats and private messages and moderation and really just the whole administration of the organization, which, you know, is not the reason they created or signed up the place. You create these places for your own growth as well. You want to talk with like-minded people. You want to enjoy the debates, and you want to grow as the organization grows. You want to be involved with your members and not always be in your office, you know, working away behind the scenes. So as the stress of leadership kind of set in, the Jedi Academy was being pulled into 3 different directions. And these directions would end up becoming 3 different websites. First, Bail Legato's would eventually come back and want to continue exactly in the same idea as he started Jedi Academy. So he started Jedi Academy West. And, wait a minute, let me see something. I might actually have that for you to look at. I'll probably have to give you a link, or I'll probably do a screen share. I'm not sure. Ooh. Okay, no. Should have thought that one out. Should have checked it beforehand. It's not working properly. I'll have to go in and fix that. So, but it's on that original archive page. You can kind of you could kind of see the screenshot, but that's about as close as you're gonna get right now. Let's see if I have the other one. I don't. Okay, so Jedi Academy West is the one that was Bale's, and he kind of went in the same line and same stuff really. And then Hellflower Ryu and others wanted to continue that exploration of philosophical thought, but in more of a Star Wars concepts, and kind of like how the influence of Star Wars makes an impact as well. Not just the subjects, but really the mythos behind it. Ergo, they started a place called Jedi Mythos. And what that had that Jedi Academy West didn't was it did have a very dedicated area to role-playing, to exploring the concepts through fictional work, right? So role-playing, fan fiction, all that stuff. Exploring those concepts and exploring ideas through fictional storytelling. And Jedi Mythos really grabbed onto that, but was very clear about it. Yeah, this is fun, this is great, but we're doing it for a specific purpose. We are doing this to kind of explore the human condition, but just in a kind of buffer zone, right? So you can explore tough subjects that can cause a lot of friction and cause a lot of debates, such as, you know, the idea of slavery and how that kind of go about and the effect it has on people, racism, sexism, all these concepts that can really divide. They can be explored with that little buffer of that fictional thing, and that's where Jedi Mythos really focused its work. And then the last one was the Forsaken Jedi, and they just wanted to roleplay. That's all they wanted to do. They ended up somehow getting control of the Easy Board, the original Easy Board of Jedi Academy, and they turned it around, put Forsaken Jedi, and it was all role playing. It's all it was about. It died out rather quickly, and then they ended up, because it was all about role playing, they basically got rid of all those discussions, all those lectures, all that information over all those years. Ended up just getting kind of, I think they moved it into into one forum, which was a mess. And then EasyBoard had its own hiccups, and EasyBoard had its own servers problems that caused a lot of sites to lose their materials and to lose posts and to lose all that stuff. And so all of that years of Jedi debates, knowledge, discussions, lectures, techniques, boom, gone. And then Forsaken Jedi kind of just, went the way of the dinosaurs and quietly disappeared. Jedi Mythos was the one that lasted longer, like the original members, most of them. Keith, Shair, Hellflower, obviously, they all kind of went to Jedi Mythos, and they all just, that core group stuck together for the most part, but it didn't last long. That's kind of the problem. Like, you and your good 5 friends is great, right? But when you all go to your own little room and discuss stuff that you already agree upon and you already know and you've been discussing it for years and you kind of know we all have the same view, well, there's not a lot of discussion there. There's not much room for growth and to propel activity at the site. So so the people who were into the, exploring the tough ideals through fictional work, they, contributed for a little bit, but eventually people got busy with life and moved on. And so that eventually fell quiet. And then Bail Legato's Jedi Academy West just never took off. It really was him, and then about 2 other people showed up. It just never really took off. Again, he didn't really have the time, energy, or drive anymore to really focus and put in the work and continue to build another website. So he had some stuff, and then it kind of, there was no one really to pass it on to. And once again, when your 2 other friends already agree with you, there's not much in the way of discussion, and it also went quiet. By 2005, they were forgotten, deleted, lost to the internet, all of them. There was nothing left by 2005. So these were giants, and they just kind of went out with this whimper due to this issue of leadership, time, and just probably shouldering too much, and then kind of all of them sort of failed to see what made the Jedi Academy as attractive and as active as it was. And that is the fate of the Jedi Academy. And what we have now, and I will get it up if you want to check it out. I will get Jedi Academy West up and working, and I'll add in a link probably to either both of them to kind of look at Jedi Mythos. Forsaken Jedi didn't have its own website, so there's nothing to see there. There was an Easy Board, but I never took a screenshot of it, and it was nothing to look at anyways. It was a horrible color choice. It was like orange and like this weird blue, like a dark blue with like yellow. It was poorly done. It was ridiculous. And yeah, there was a reason it didn't last. So, but the other 2 websites, look to get those up on the archive so people can kind of look at them. It's my fault for not having it done for this episode, but so that's that. And let's see, we'll go. Gabe, continue to be safe, continue to drive well. But if you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself and ask or comment away.
Yeah, I would just ask at its height about how many Like, what was the traffic? How many people were going through the website as a whole?
At its height, so I would say probably really 2000, well, even 2001, really in the 2000, 2001, I think, I'd probably have to pull it up. But you would have 20 registered users on average. So that dipped and sometimes it exploded per day in between about 2000 and 2001. I think its final member count, its final member count was obviously way into the thousands. But the active membership, right? Because that's not the active membership. People sign up for stuff all the time, just check it out. But the active membership, you were, by the end of a 24-hour period, you had about anywhere from 100 to 200 people running through there with easy. That was just every day. They had like a who's online, and if you logged in towards the evening of their count, man, it was just like who had been online. It was always just a bunch of names. At any given time, anytime I signed on, there was always at least around 30 active people on the board at any given time. Their chat room was always popping. Didn't matter what time you logged in, because people from all over the world were there. So really, you had a lot. Again, like at any given time, I think their slow period was like you had 15 members in it. That would be the slow time during the day. 15 active members would be on online. 20 active members, and it's like, oh man, kind of slow. Where is everybody? So yeah, it was popping, man. It was popping. I don't have direct numbers. I'd have to look at it, then average it out, all that fun stuff. But yeah, it was way crazy. Too much for me. I didn't stick around very long at Jedi Academy. Like, I popped in now and then. When I joined I was like active for maybe a month, but I was just like, this is too much. This is too much. I'm gonna go find a quieter spot to get my Jedi on. And yeah, and because Jedi philosophy in and of itself was more of an interest to me than the quote unquote real world philosophy. I sought a place that was more conducive to my understanding or what I was looking for and how I wanted to grow as a Jedi too. But it was crazy, and I would just pop in. I would put a post and I'd just leave it. That was it. I'd put a post and then gone. I would never check it again. I wouldn't even bother. Like, I'm like, okay, since I know I'm not going to check this for hours, I'm never going to check it. Let the discussion on whatever happens. There were more than enough people happy to answer for you when someone asked a question. People would be like, oh, what do you mean by this? Someone else would answer and be like, oh, well, what he meant was, like, wait. So you were good. You just put up a post and you could walk away. It was that active. You never had to worry about it. But yeah, I don't think we have any group right now that's comparable. I don't think we've had one since Jedi. And again, that's almost 10 years ago. We haven't really had one group that's really boom, like everybody goes there and it's just really active. Even places like Jedi Church and Temple of the Jedi Order, where there is a lot of activity, it's just not quite the same. Not quite the same. Jedi from California Jedi, Katie. Any questions, comments, concerns, memories, thoughts, ramblings?
None of those, actually. I wasn't at Jedi Academy, although obviously I'd heard of it. But yeah, no comments.
Fair enough. Way to make it boring, Katie. Good job. Rosalind, you can unmute yourself, and if you have any questions, comments, concerns that you'd thoughts you would like to add on Jedi Academy or what we've been talking about?
I would like to ask, can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
A little bit. You're soft.
I would like to ask, what do you think that Jedi Academy had? Hold on. I think my earphones are in the wrong jack.
Well, we were hearing you. Just as a.
Well, of course. Well, they're in the right jack.
Okay.
Okay. So I would like to ask, what do you think that the Jedi Academy had that made it so popular?
Good question. I think what it had was unbelievable diversity. I think what it had was a chorus of hugely differing opinions, and everybody was an individual, and that was okay. That's the thing. Everyone was an individual, and that was okay. It was encouraged. Nobody was, because it didn't have an idea of what Jedi was per se. It was just a way to. It was just Jedi was just a label to explore the various different subjects which have already existed for years. It was about finding your connection. So no one could tell you were right or wrong in that aspect, right? So you would go to Jedi Academy and you'd be like, oh yeah, I love this aspect about the Jedi, and that's what got me into Taekwondo, right? No one's going to tell you no or that's incorrect. They might say that's silly or they disagree, right? There's all that. There was plenty of disagreements in that sense. There was lots of conflict, but it was always that diversity. People were allowed to disagree. Discussion was encouraged. Exploration was encouraged. Not everybody took it personally when someone said, no, I don't agree, or, well, this was my take. This was how I felt. Because of that, everybody felt that they could offer their opinion without this kind of label. They might be challenged, absolutely. Their post might be torn to shreds, and people pointing out, well, here's what I don't agree with. I think this is just wrong, and if you didn't have your facts right, be careful, because yes, there would be someone there with a dictionary ready to just school you on whatever, or they would have references. Of course, this was before Wikipedia, so everybody had like books stacked. I would just assume like piles of books by their computer, because they would always have something. They'd be like, yeah, go check out this book, page 43, boom, done, quoted, there you go, see, I'm right. Like, and it was great, right? It was fun. Way too busy for me, way too loud, way too crowded. But I think what really led to that activity was the embracing of the individual and not trying to fit it into a container. It was very open, and debates were encouraged. It's the same thing that kind of the Force Academy would become, and kind of the ideal they kind of latch onto now about being like the Shark Tank, like accepting conflict, accepting disagreement, and accepting debate. I don't think Force Academy has quite mastered it. For some reason, it just vibed back then for the Jedi Academy. The idea, the diversity, the flow, the way people approach things just kind of worked. Again, but like with Katie, with Gabe, with myself, like no one really stayed there, because it was a little hectic, and it was really hard to. And again, there was no like academy, right? There was nothing like to really learn from. They didn't even do. There was no apprenticeships. There wasn't things like that. I mean, if there was, it was just like between two individuals. It wasn't anything like site endorsed or anything like that. So really, just what it was that diversity, and people willing to discuss, and willing to disagree, and willing to put their points out there and fight for their points, and go point by point by point. and that really, it engaged people. It really kept things going. There's always, if at any active board, you're gonna find at any active group, and I don't care Jedi or not, right? Any active group, you're gonna find that a lot of that is out of discussion, whether that be heated, whether that be standardized arguments and debates, whatever it is, that is what keeps it going. The willingness to explore your ideas with one another. And that's what the Jedi Academy had. Just had a bunch of different people with a bunch of different views all crammed into one small space, and it lasted for years because people enjoyed the conversations from it. Let's see.
Thanks.
You're welcome, Raj. You're welcome. Any other Q&As? Q&As from our little gallery out there? Doesn't look like it. Okay, so we'll probably wrap that up. We can open it up to any thoughts on Jedi leadership. So, as discussed, the Jedi Academy kind of fell down because leadership split in its direction and what it wanted to do, and also didn't have the energy and focus on, perhaps even vision, on how to push things forward and how to really be a part of that. Gabe is a leader and organizer for Chicago Jedi, so he's really versed in running a group. He's also run several online groups and has helped organize gatherings. So, Master Angelus, do you have any thoughts on Jedi leadership and maybe kind of how a Jedi might be able to avoid the direction or the pitfall that the leadership of Jedi Academy kind of fell into?
Yes, well, I think you actually kind of hit on it before in the fact that one of the things that Jedi Academy didn't do was apprenticeships. And what I have found is that apprenticing or any kind of mentoring program is pivotal, because in one respect, yes, you are kind of putting all of your information into another person in the hopes that they will continue your vision, but at the same time, you're building that person up so that they can be a leader in their own right and create things that they do. And the whole idea is that you are having something live beyond you. So at a certain point, you do have to kind of let go and realize that things will go the way they're supposed to, that there's an evolution to things. And so the whole mentoring and apprenticeship is our key things in growth.
It's a great point. Great point. Jedi Knight Cayenne is a leader and organizer of California Jedi, both online and offline, and has been a leader and a organizer for differing online groups. Also a member of Chicago Jedi as well. Do you have any thoughts or tips for anybody who may be in charge of a group, or any Jedi really, just on idea of leadership and not, I guess, burning out or kind of falling in that direction?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing that is most important in terms of success there is a leader is not somebody who carries, whether it's a group or a project or whatever it is not someone who carries the whole project by themselves. If, as we saw in Jedi Academy, as you were describing today, Bail Legato started it, he was the linchpin. When he stepped back, everything fell apart. That's great that he was able to hold up that group on his own, but it's it's a big flaw if your organization and the thing you're working on won't survive you being uninvolved or less involved. So when you're starting and running a group, you know, as Angela said, you know, you need to be building community, and you need to be training new people basically who can take over. You know, having your organization or your project or your ideas not be dependent on a certain level of your own involvement. You need to do some delegation, need to get other people, no, but you need to get other people to care about your project the way you do. So you can basically spread the work and spread the involvement out among a lot of people. You get a lot more longevity that way, and a lot more momentum. Once it gets going, it's very difficult to stop. So.
No, very true, very true. Thank you, Katie. Rosalind, do you have any, you know, continuing in the same vein, any tips or, you know, ideas on how Jedi can be good leaders? You know, how they can help a group stay functional that they might be organizing.
Well, there's a couple of things I have. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, there's a couple of things I have. One is for Jedi to continue to be explorers, continue to be learning, not only about their own Jedi path, but also about the organization, seeing where, you know, some weaknesses are, seeing where they can, you know, because it's not the responsibility of the leader to carry the vision. It's the responsibility of the leader to give the vision. It's the responsibility of the rest of the group, together with the leader, to carry the vision. And so, so as Jedi, it's imperative, on some level, that members get a stock or feel like they have a stock in their organization, because when people have a stock in their organization, they do without being told, and they move forward without being told. And I think that once people understand the vision, there's a lot less, I think, of this infighting, because, or this disagreement with where this thing is supposed to go, because at the core, what we're working for is the vision. Whatever the vision is, we're working for that vision, whatever it takes. And so there's a lot more room to compromise. So just education, understanding of your organization, and your part in the organization, not only as a member, but also as a member in leadership, whether or not you have a title, and then also understanding the need for compromise in some areas, and understanding the vision.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Rosalind. Thank you, Rosalind, for your opinion. Truly appreciate it. I'm sure other people will are. And that's the recap, right? So Jedi Academy, very popular, very great, very awesome, very fun, very crazy, very hectic, and eventually torn into 3 different directions. And as you've heard from our guests, you know, passing on education, focus, and sharing, being a member of the group as much as you are a leader, and kind of passing that on and building up those around you and your community might have helped the Jedi Academy stick around to this day. Talahane, is that right? I don't know if I'm saying that right. If you have any questions, comments, or anything, you can add them up in the Q&A now. I will obviously be the one speaking them. I'll try to do it in epic voice if that makes you feel better. But if you have any questions, go ahead, throw them in there. I'm going to give you some time. I don't know, write something or not. Okay. I'm going to assume you don't have questions. I'm just going to work off of that. Except Jedi lesson, assumptions, they're bad. Mother of all mistakes. Be careful with assumptions. Alright, so now that we've also discovered Jedi lesson number 2, infallibility, right? Jedi are fallible. Not perfect. Okay, really. Oh man, that's an hour on the dot. Okay, this video session is coming to an end. Have a great evening, everybody, and we'll see you next week.